With builders like Shoppe, Pruka, and now Bulas, you have to wonder, is Eastern Europe the new hotspot for boutique mandolins? Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm very excited to be talking about this Bulas mandolin built all the way over in Poland.
That's a little ways away.
And we're going to talk about, there's really some awesome builders over in Europe right now building some excellent mandolins. It is a pretty cool history with the mandolin. It got its start over in Italy as an old
world style instrument.
Yeah. And it, a very similar
like
tuning.
Ragu,
it had like
style.
the big round back on it. And when it made its way over to the United States, it was a lot of those immigrants that brought it over here. And it really took Orville Gibson kind of revisiting the violin type of chamber and the F-holes, and just the way he approached it was more from a violin builder with the arc top and back, rather than just, they normally had like a flat top on them and a really big bowl top, back on the back of it. And he kind of reapproached it with the carved top and back, much like the violin builders that he had kind of associated with. And then it really got refined, and then when Lloyd Lohr obviously got his hands on the mandolin,
changed it again,
built the F5, that kind of just created the iconic mandolin that we're seeing here today. And then it's made its way back over to Europe from where it started, but now with that US influence in it. The reason we want to do this video is, it is true that some of my favorite mandolin builders right now are out of Europe, and we listed them at the top of the video. One that I just recently ran across at the IBMA show was Bulas Mandolins. I went by their booth. They've been building banjos as well. Very interesting that these guys in Poland now are building a almost iconic F5 style mandolin.
With its own
a little twist,
flares and changes. Like you said, it does have a more interesting kind of break angle to the carved top, a different
the scroll's more Mono-Leone style.
And a headstock that's got, again, they're speaking of that traditional American version of the mandolin.
They're putting their own stamp on it.
Yep,
so
exactly.
They're very cool. But tone-wise, I mean, I was just blown away. They got that real deep, woody, the traditional F5 tone, but like I said, with some of their own twist on it. To get that tone out of it, what I think is they're really kind of zeroing in on is the carving of it. It's the carving of the top and the back, and it's the graduation. That's what violin makers get famous for, is graduating. So that's where, it's different thicknesses throughout the arc of the carving of the top and back, and finding that perfect balance that it really resonates, but still has strength, because we've got a lot of downward pressure with those 8 strings at a high tension on a mandolin. Bulas is one of those that definitely has nailed that. This particular one, this is their standard model, and it is a tobacco burst finish on this. It prices at about $4,350. So
give or take, because of the euro and the up and down and
fluctuation,
so
exchange
be aware
rate.
that there's always going to be some fluctuation in these European instruments.
But at that price range for a hand-built instrument, I think it's a great price for it. This is their F-style version. They do build a lot of A-styles as well. They're using master-grade Carpathian spruce on the top, book-matched curly maple on the back and sides, maple neck on this, and ebony hummingbird mother-of-pearl inlay on the headstock there, which I think looks really...
Is that really a hummingbird? Ah, I see it. It's like a take on a hummingbird.
All right.
I'm with you.
This has an ebony fretboard. It's a compound radius on it, going from a 5.5 inch to a 12 inch. It does have, I believe it's a 2-way adjustable truss rod on this. I'd have to confirm that, but it does definitely have a truss rod in it. The nut on this is bone, and this is using shallower tuners on this model. Like we mentioned earlier, they use Rubners on some of their higher priced mandolins. The tailpiece is a Bulas, I always say it because it has an L, Bulas cast tailpiece. So they're actually building their own hardware as well, like you mentioned.
They do that with their banjos as well.
Yeah. This one has a satin finish, so that's part of the saving on price. It's a satin nitrocellulose, and then like I said, they put the speed neck on it where they got it down to almost the bare wood with just a little sealant on it. It comes with a Gator hard case, or hard foam case, and nut width on this one is 29 millimeters, which would be 1.14 inches. So it feels like wider than a standard Gibson, but just barely. So that's kind of the basic specs of the standard model. We can get into kind of our rating system for this and what we think of it. We'll start with tone. I was mentioning earlier, what I love about the European builders right now is they're getting the tone that I love. And I think I really tuned my ear to Adam Steffi when he was playing with Alison Krauss. He just had such a deep, thick, fat, woody tone to his playing, and that kind of is what I've been searching for in all the mandolins I've played ever since. And this one definitely has that in spades. And it's not saying that it's bass heavy. It's not that Hutto like really deep, tone. This one's balanced all the way across, but it's very round. All those notes just really pop to it. So on tone, I think this one just really nails it. I'm going to give it a 5.
I tend to, you know me, I like the clarity and definition of a full gloss finish. So I do like the overall tone of this, but I do find it to be a little bit soft and not quite as crystalline as what I'd like in the top end. So I was going to go with a 4.5.
Fair enough. Setup and playability, again, very impressed with their knowledge of the way mandolin players would like to have their instrument set up. The action came exactly where I would have it placed. So setup and playability on it, like I mentioned, you don't have to dig real hard to get notes out of it. So playability is definitely there. I'm going to give it a 4.75 on setup and playability.
This is where I'll definitely match you on this too. I like that overall, not just the setup, but like you said, playability, that wider nut, the compound radius. I actually could feel that as I go. It's got a much stronger radius shape in the lower frets, whereas on the upper ones it becomes a little flatter, and that makes sense to me.
Then we get to the build quality, and I think they're just doing an excellent job. That's really what stood out to me.
That's why we brought them in here.
Some of the deep kind of relief they do on the carving, it's stuff that's not necessary. It's not really adding much probably to the tone of the instrument, but it just shows the ability of the wood carver and their job in being able to really make a fine built instrument. The binding is all the edges are perfectly matched. Build quality is up there with some of the top builders out there. For the price especially, I'm going to give this one, again, a 4.75. It's excellent, even in the satin finish.
This is where I'm even going to go higher than you, Jeremy. I do really like the reliefs, like you said, and I love the overall character of this. It's got a new look while having that, just there's a lot of detail going on here. So I'm going to go with a full 5.
All right. I wouldn't knock you for doing that, John.
All right. You better not.
Aesthetics, looks of this, I really like the appearance too. It's got that nice satin finish, which I was always more traditional with the gloss finish, but I've really come around to the look and appearance of a satin finish. And then that burst on the back is very subtle, very nice, evenly spread out, so it's not real harsh. Aesthetically looking, I think it's a very attractive instrument, and those reliefs really help emphasize that. It just makes it look a little different. We mentioned before, it kind of has a little bit of that Weber sort of look to it with those sharp edges, which I like. Aesthetically, I think
detailed,
very attractive.
Yeah. It feels more detailed. Feels like they're really putting extra time and effort into that. So I agree with you.
So I'm going to give it a 4.5 on aesthetics.
I'm going to go 4.75.
Ooh, this is getting some good ratings. We're going back and forth on this, aren't we?
Yeah.
And then we go to, does it pass the Shoppe Sustainable? We don't know yet. We're just now been working with the folks over at Bulas. I'm not sure where they're getting their tone woods, so we want to do a little bit more investigation into that and where they're sourcing them. But for now, we're going to plant 5 trees for everyone that we sell, just to be on that safe side. But in general, just a beautiful instrument. Overall value would be the last thing we talk about, John. And this is what I think excited me more than anything at the IBMA show, and that is, I know $4,500 range is high for a lot of people when they're talking about mandolins. But if you really shop for F-style, hand-built mandolins, especially in the boutique builders, they're not like a mass-produced one, it is a very good price for what you're getting here.
It's almost half of what most builders are doing.
And that's even some of our local smaller luthiers that we get in that aren't building that many mandolins a year. They're still priced in that $8,000 range. So this one, like I said, nearly half the price. I think for overall value, it's going to be a 5 for me.
I agree. This is where we'll match, Jeremy. I'll give you
Again,
your 5.
we're twinsies. Anyway, we're going to be getting a lot more of the Bulas instruments in here. I'm very excited for that because they build some great banjos. We've got an octave mandolin that came in that we're going to talk about some more in another video. And we're going to just get a whole line of their instruments. Very excited to have those in the shop and be able to carry them here. If you guys would like to see more of them, check out our website because I think you'll be we're happy to introduce you to the Bulas brand and to the Bulas family. Very looking forward to getting these in the shop. So now we've rated it, John, let's talk about who this mandolin is for. Who would you say would be a perfect fit for this?
I think this is for the person who's needing a step-up instrument and wants to go further than, what I guess the Chinese built import kind of instruments. Want something in a higher end and can't quite get to that super high end build. I think that's where this one kind of really hits a sweet spot.
I agree, but I also think it could be that higher end touring musician that would really do well on stage with one of these mandolins.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely you nailed it with that in between the tweener kind of person that they've got a really good instrument. They're wanting to do that upgrade, but can't quite justify $8,000 to $10,000. I think this makes a very good option there. And then how does this instrument compare to other instruments? I think it is very similar in feel and playability to Collings mandolins, which again took a little bit of a different approach. There's still that traditional look to them, but had much sharper edges to the mandolin. Everything much more clean and crisp, maybe in the build. I think this is very similar to those. And Weber, I think it's very similar to the Weber style build as well. And that's in playability and appearance. So I'd say those are my two closest comparisons. And you're getting this mandolin at a pretty good discount from those two mandolins pricing out. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this introduction to the Bulas mandolin. We also have another really great boutique builder here in the States. We've had a few of his mandolins in here. We just recently did a review on one of them, and that is the Is mandolin. If you'd like to get a chance to check that video out, click on this little thumbnail right here, and we'll see you guys in the next video.